Welcome to DuelScreens. I'm Matt.
And I'm Nick, and I'm about to drop a bombshell.
Shoot.
I prefer Digimon over Pokemon, but I'll admit it's more because of the anime. The games, on the other hand, unfortunately haven't been too remarkable.
And I can't argue that statement. But today we found a diamond in the rough, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. And with the sequel just announced, what's a better time to talk about it?
So let's put our goggles on, and let's digitize.
To start off, I can easily understand why Digimon has always been thought to be the knockoff of Pokemon, with the anime coming out in the West to compete for ratings, but in reality, it's actually a spin-off of Tamagotchi, except that Digimon was intended to have much more focus on the male audience. I mean, look at some of these guys with those muscles and guns. But with the anime taking off in most of the world, that kind of popularity would of course bring video games. The first game to come out was Digital Monster Version S, Digimon Tamers, on the Sega Saturn, but that stayed in Japan. And the first one to head stateside was Digimon World on the PlayStation 1. From there, periodic releases kept the franchise going, but not that many left Japan, and the few that did come stateside ranged from decent to I'm not giving this to my little brother, even though I don't like him.
For what it's worth, I did enjoy Digimon World on the DS, and Digimon World 1 on the PlayStation 1 may have been one of my childhood games, but oh boy, it has not aged well. Sadly, we missed out on a lot of Digimon games, such as Digimon World Redigitized, Digimon Story Lost Evolution, and Digimon Adventure, which was based off the original anime that we're all familiar with. Thankfully, Bandai Namco decided to take a chance and bring two new Digimon games over to the West, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth that came out February 2nd of last year, and Digimon World Next Order that got released only a few months ago. Now, despite Next Order being the most recent iteration, we haven't played it yet, so we're going to focus on Cyber Sleuth. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth was developed by Mediavision, most famous for their work on the Wild Arms series and the more recent Valkyria Chronicle games. If you're worried that you need prior knowledge of Digimon, don't worry about it. Except for some callbacks to the anime and a few references and characters from those Japan-exclusive games, Cyber Sleuth follows its own continuity, so you can just jump right in.
So let's get started with the main plot. You either play as a male or female protagonist meeting up with some online friends in the virtual world of Eden. Suddenly things go wrong when a mysterious force causes the trio to download the Digimon capturing program and get attacked by strange creatures called Eaters. You try to log out, but the Eater catches you and causes your body to glitch, transforming you into a half-digital entity. Soon after, you're approached by a mysterious detective named Kyoko Kuremi, who asks you to help find the source of the Eaters, among other disturbances in Eden. It starts out pretty simple, but eventually expands into a massive adventure. Overall, I can say I like the story, and the characters are endearing, except for the main character. They're kind of a derp, but we'll go more details about the story later.
Now, the basics of the game are fairly simple, with nothing too far removed from your classic Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. There are your standard type advantages, status affecting conditions, buffs, debuffs, the usual stuff in JRPGs. What's not so standard are your hacking skills. Using your Connect Jump, you can hop between the real world and any digital network, you can bring down firewalls with your wall cracking, and later in the game you can copy and paste passwords to get into high security places. There are also skills for eliminating or forcing random encounters. I'll tell you right now, you'll be using those two the most. The main core of the game is picking up detective cases, which basically act like your quests, and exploring Tokyo to solve them. Some cases are optional, but a lot of them have a really great sense of humor about themselves, and they're pretty good for getting helpful items. Now to talk about the Digimon themselves. You get a choice of one of three starting Digimon to choose from. You can pick Terriermon, Palmon, Terriermon again, and from there you can start crafting your team by capturing Digimon. To capture them, you just have to fight wild ones to scan them, and once the scan rate reaches 100% or more, you can digi-convert them to add them to your team. However, just digi-converting a champion Digimon doesn't automatically make it stronger than your team of rookies. If anything, you'll raise stronger Digimon by raising them from square one. Not only that, but different Digimon take up different amounts of space, or memory, and the only way to increase the limit is by finding memory ups scattered throughout the dungeons, completing certain detective cases, or by beating bosses. By the end of the game, it doesn't really become much of a problem, since you're going to have plenty of room for your all-star team of megas.
Then we have Digi Farms. Much like the Pokemon daycare, you can leave Digimon there to level themselves up, but you can also give them 1 to 3 special commands: investigate, develop, or train. Investigation finds new cases for you to solve, though all of them are some sort of radiant quest where you go into a dungeon, find a Digimon, find a thing they want, and return it to them. Developing can get you useful items, although it's nothing you won't be able to easily afford later in the game. And training does exactly that. It trains your Digimon. You can have them choose to take their own time, or make it go faster at the expense of their friendship, but no worries, there are no consequences if you have 0 friendship, as it easily goes up with each battle or using an item. And to keep track of everything, the game features a messenger system that tells you when your Digimon are at max level, or when they finish the commands that you gave them. The messenger also allows you to keep in contact with the other characters, and sometimes it's worth to read and respond to some of these messages. Also, sometimes your farm Digimon will message you to chat, and sometimes give you trivia questions to solve. These trivia questions are usually simple, sometimes calling upon your knowledge of Digimon, and some don't. Raising your Digimon stats and friendship in the farm is necessary if you want to build a team that can defeat any opponent thrown your way.
However, not all Digimon are that simple to raise. A single Digimon can have more than a few Digivolutions, and some of those evolutions require a very specific way of raising them. Unfortunately, this is the most tedious part of the game. There are a lot of components and factors that go into training. Farm equipment, stats, individual Digimon personalities, certain quests that need to be completed, special items that you don't get until late game, and 100% friendship with one or sometimes two Digimon at once in order to get the more powerful Mega Forms. Oh, and DNA Digivolutions require one Digimon to be a sacrifice. Even if you de-Digivolve them, you don't get them back.
I miss my Gatomon!
I spent hours raising a War Growlmon to become a Gallantmon, only to find out that I couldn't actually get him until the end of the game, and even then, I still had to jump through a whole bunch of different hoops just to actually evolve him. I eventually got him, but my god, it was frustrating.
And the worst part of the game is it just doesn't explain itself all too well. This is one of the most cohesive Digimon raising systems so far, and yet it's also the most demanding. You want all these cool Digimon like Omnimon? You gotta earn it. Plus there's also a stat known as ABI, which you need to get to a certain number in order to get the more exotic Digimon. But you only get ABI by Digivolving and de-Digivolving back and forth, which can undo all the progress that you made with that Digimon's stats. We've put 100 plus hours into the game, and we have yet to figure out an effective raising method.
Anyway, our other major issues with the game is that it's very dialogue heavy, with characters dumping exposition or monologuing for extended periods of time. The worst offenders are chapters involving the Occult Club. They only appear twice throughout the game's 20 chapters, but they also drag on the longest, have very little combat, and contribute nothing to the overall story. Honestly, some chapters could have been combined and condensed better, because they feel like padding for a game that really doesn't need it. Alright, now with the big complaints out of the way, here are some minor ones. The soundtrack isn't all that memorable. There are some songs that are good, but the rest aren't exactly toe-tapping. Plus, we know it's an inevitability with Japanese games, but the translation and writing is a bit off sometimes. Like, what's going on here? This is supposed to be a whole sentence, but it's broken up like it's 3 separate answers. I don't know. Lastly, there are a lot of underutilized features in the game, like the hacking abilities. They get a lot of use in the first half of the game, but after that they don't really come into play very often. Kind of a missed opportunity.
Now please don't start thinking this is all bad. We had a lot to complain about, but there's also a lot to like too. There is a lot of dialogue and pacing issues throughout the story, but the characters are a lot of fun. The micromanagement of your Digimon can be a bit of a chore, but seeing the Digimon that you raise in action is a great feeling. The combat is on the simple side, but also requires a bit of planning and strategy. This is a perfect example of a game that's 7 out of 10, which is not a bad score, and it certainly is one of the best Digimon games so far. It just has a few hitches holding it back. I understand we criticize the game quite a bit, but I still think it's worth looking into.
If you're a Digimon fan, you'll love this game. If you're a JRPG fan, it's still a worthwhile addition to your PS4 or Vita collection.
And plus Nick is on the cheap side too.
Exactly. I really want Bandai to release more of these Digimon games. I want to see a day where Pokemon and Digimon go head to head, instead of, one over the other.
But with everything said, everyone, I hope you give it a shot, and until next time, take care.
Thanks for checking out our video. If you liked it, check out our last video on Trauma Team.
And if you're interested, subscribe for more, leave comments on your thoughts on the video, or comment your favorite Digimon. Mine's Guilmon, while Nick's favorite is Numamon.
It is not!
Well, until next time, everyone, take care.
I also like Guilmon, not that stupid walking booger piece of shit.